Learn it here first or risk finding out after everyone else.
This is Richmond's Morning News with Rich Herrera on News Radio WRVA.
Hey, it's simple. Either you wake up with Richmond's Morning News, or you spend the rest of the day trying to figure out what's going on. Start with us, get ahead of the pack, or play catch up the rest of the day. All right. Joining us right now is a gentleman I respect so much. He has served our nation in so many different ways, sacrificing his body along the way and his mind and his soul. He's Congressman John McGuire. He's a Navy SEAL who, along with a lot of his SEAL brethren, have decided to enter politics and get into this contact sport, and now serves in Washington, D.C. I'm just watching Derek Van Orden, one of your Navy SEAL brothers. He's on Fox News. You're joining us. I got so many Navy SEALs in Washington, D.C. right now. It seems like you can have an alumni chapter up on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, Speaker Mike Johnson said he thinks we've reached our quota. But, we don't do this forever, but there's some guys coming in, coming out. But it's a way to continue service to our great nation. During the Biden administration, it just felt like we were losing our freedom. And our children, I believe, have less freedom than we had growing up. So it's a way to serve and a way to help President Trump save America. It's a real honor.
Let's talk about Memorial Day. I know you participated in Memorial Day ceremonies. I was at the Virginia War Memorial reading names during the marathon reading of all the men and women that have made that ultimate sacrifice. I know you have so many of your brethren that are Arlington. We talked with Kevin Looney, whose son Brendan is a Navy SEAL buried next to Travis Manion, and I go to Arlington often and visit his gravesite. Tell me about Memorial Day and what it means to you and how we can do more than just set one side a day to remember the fallen and live our lives in a meaningful way as Americans, that their sacrifice is not taken in vain.
Well, that's a good point. We should remember our fallen every day as we enjoy this incredible freedom that they sacrificed. It's a very somber day, and some people risk their time. Some people risk their money, but these amazing men and women gave their life for our freedom. Since 1775 to today, I believe it's 1.3 million or so men and women, American patriots, that gave their life for our incredible freedom. So it's something we got to remember every day.
I mean, and when you sign up and you go to Bud's, you go to Coronado, and they're making you into a sugar cookie, and if people don't know what that means, it's they tell you to run out in the water, roll around in the sand, and you basically have sand in every portion of your body. You stand there like a sugar cookie. Does anybody care who you voted for? Does anybody care where you come from? Does anybody care about anything other than we're there as one team?
Well, I got to tell you, Bud's is so patriotic. I mean, you're under a boat in the ocean at night, shivering, cold, freezing, singing the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem. I mean, it's patriotism all the way around, love of country. And, on the battlefield, if somebody saved your life, you wouldn't care if they were black or white or blue, male or female, Democrat, Republican, or independent. We're all Americans. And what we have to do is special operations forces are always outnumbered, always behind enemy lines, but we always win because we have to put our differences aside, treat people with respect, and work as a team. And by doing that, we oftentimes turn the impossible to the possible. And we have the most amazing military, the most amazing men and women. And, I spoke at the Amelia County Military Cemetery yesterday, and I spoke about a guy named Frank Perigore, Albemarle County. In World War II, there's only like 3 or 4 people in the history of our country that have received the Soldier's Medal, which is the highest medal you can get in peacetime, and the Medal of Honor. And this young man lied about his age, joined the Army, and then in World War II, he survived the first wave of D-Day. And then a few days later, they were trying to take a hill, and tanks and American soldiers were held down. So he grabbed a bunch of hand grenades and a bayonet and went all the way up to the top of the hill, jumped into German trenches, killed 8 Germans, took over the hill, and when the smoke cleared, he had captured like 35 Germans. But sadly, with combat, a few days later, he lost his life. But they named an Army building in Charlottesville after Frank Peregoy, which a lot of people don't know. When I gave that speech, I had a whole bunch of people tell me that they knew his name for years, but they had no idea that he had won both of those medals. But he is the only member of the Virginia National Guard that received the Medal of Honor in World War II.
Do you believe that if we say their names out loud, we remember them, their legacy and their soul lives on?
I do believe that, and I do believe that what we have to do is live a life worthy of their sacrifice every day.
100%. 100%. Let's turn our attention to what's going on in the Middle East. I wanted to get your thoughts right now. It seems like Donald Trump and the administration is trying everything they can. Witkoff, Jared Kushner back there negotiating with Iran, and it seems like maybe they're playing the long game. The president has his detractors that are saying you can't give in on both sides of the aisle. He's between a rock and a hard place, but that's why you need leadership at this point. What do you see going on in the Middle East?
Yeah, it's very complicated, if Americans who are used to American civilization, what we have going on in the United States, if you go deal with some of these folks, they're the number one state sponsor of terror. They have no problem with machine gunning or killing 40,000 of their own people because they disagree. They have a different mindset. So it's very complicated, but Marco Rubio has proven to be very intelligent and very capable. I have great faith in President Trump and this administration. It's not easy, and they're going to figure it out, and we don't know when, but we're working on it. But whatever they do, it won't be like Obama bringing pallets of billions of dollars in cash and selling out the American people and actually incentivizing them to build a nuclear program. And that's what they did. And President Trump is like, no, we have a line in the sand like every president before him. You will not have a nuclear weapon. But the difference is President Trump has a backbone and he will not compromise. I was in the Armed Services Committee with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, is it true that Iran has enough uranium to build 11 nuclear bombs? And in the Iranian own words, they said, yes, we have that amount. And I said, well, if they used it in one of their ballistic missiles, which we now know can reach Paris or London, would it kill 100 people? Would it kill 1,000 people? Or would it kill 1 million people? And he said 1 million people. And so thank God we have the best military in the world and leadership that's willing to draw a line in the sand and says, no, the number one state sponsor of terror who says if we get a nuclear weapon, we will use it. Thank God they stopped him from doing that.
Congressman John McGuire joining us this morning, an exclusive interview here on News Radio WRVA. Sir, here's the thing that bothers me the most about all this, and I want to get your thoughts. Thursday, there's a new movie coming out called Pressure. It's about Ike and D-Day and whether he sent the troops and the ships over and all the pressure that was on his shoulders for the biggest decision anybody's ever made in their lives. There was no guarantee that they were going to succeed. In fact, he wrote a note and was going to release it. If it failed, he was going to take the fall and be 100% responsible. I have a feeling that Americans have forgotten that war is ugly, war is messy, and there's no guarantee. It's almost like everybody thinks we're playing Call of Duty where the U.S. can just roll in there, throw out the stars and stripes, and everything's going to align perfectly. There is so much unpredictability and chaos in war, and everybody who wants, I want it done by this point, I want this done, I want that done. War doesn't work that way, and I think that we're being impatient and impractical when we're expecting this to be turned around so quickly, so neatly, with so little damage to both sides. I don't think that's realistic anymore.
It's not realistic, but I can't. I mean, in a war, people are going to get hit. And considering how long we've been dealing with this conflict, you remember in World War II, within the first 6 months, we'd lost about 180,000 American soldiers. And we don't want to lose one, and we certainly honor and remember our fallen, but we've got to finish the job, and we've got to keep the world safe. So it's not fair. It's unpredictable, and you put time limits and things like that, you cause more failure and more deaths. So that's why we've got to be patient and trust that we have the best military in the world, and we're going to do the right thing.
And we do. Absolutely. This is the greatest military, the strongest the world has ever seen. But I keep going back to people not understanding that Iran is not just rolling over and playing dead. Iran is going to fight back, and they're fighting back right now through the Strait of Hormuz, trying to put economic pressure on us. They're trying to to have a campaign of disinformation to make people confused of what's going on. And people are buying a lot of this nonsense that's coming out of Tehran.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges of technology. It's like the communists believe if you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. And social media has been a way for them to echo that misinformation. So that's why we've got to be vigilant, and we've got to be better at messaging. And I think this White House is doing a good job on that. Pete Hegseth, I watched his speech at Memorial Day in Washington, D.C. yesterday at Arlington, just staying on message about, America, peace through strength, and the greatest country in the world, and we will defend what's behind us.
30 seconds. What do you want to pass on? What do you want the voters here in Central Virginia to know about what's going on up there, what you're up to right now?
Well, right now we're in the district for about a week. I want to remind people that we have a primary going on. The early voting starts, I think, 25 days, June 19th. Of course, we have election season in Virginia, 45 days, and the last day to vote is August 4th. So first day to vote, early vote, June 19th. And what else? In D.C., they're still playing politics with funding our Border Patrol agents, our ICE agents. It's crazy. It's like the Democrats seem to support the opposite of the interests of the American people. It's America last. We identified a ton of fraud in Minnesota and California, and they want to go after the people that found the fraud instead of the people that committed the fraud. So we just got to stay vigilant, put God first, and keep working hard to save our country.
And by the way, somebody did ask me the other day, is that really John McGuire standing out in a street corner holding up a sign, waving at people? They said, absolutely. Wait a minute. That's a congressman out there on the side of the road holding up a street sign saying, please vote for me. And people can pull over the side of the road and just talk to a member of Congress. They said, that's John McGuire.
Yeah, we've been doing it about 8 years, and people come up to me and say, look, I'm about to lose my house. I've got a problem with the IRS or Social Security or something. And we've gotten their name and number and helped 100% of them. You can't always solve the problem the way they want, but we do our best. But in just less than 2 years as a congressman, my incredible team and I have returned over $9.1 million back into the pocket of people. That's money owed to them by the government. We had a U.S. Marine veteran who had a Veteran Administration claim of $13,500 owed to him. So I called him up and said, hey, I want to help you get that money. And instead of saying thank you, he said, I don't think you can do it. And I said, well, why do you say that? And he said, well, the last 6 years, the last couple of congressmen didn't get it done. But we've got such an incredible team. We got him his money within 2 weeks. And for this guy's situation, that was a game changer. So you can't always help somebody, but when you can, it's pretty cool.
Do not ever throw down a challenge to a Navy SEAL. I don't think you could do anything, John. We know what's going to happen when somebody throws down a challenge to you like that. The most accessible member of Congress from Central Virginia, John McGuire, has been our guest. Sir, thank you so much. Thank you for helping us remember what Memorial Day is all about, and I'll catch up with you soon.
All right. It's an honor to serve. God bless you.
Thank you so much. John McGuire joining us here on News Radio WRVA. Today's program brought to you in part by GreerFinancialGroup.com. All right, conversation time. Let's have just a real, honest conversation. How are you going to pay for your wife's health insurance 15 years after you retire?